Good afternoon, everybody. We will get started here in just a minute. All right, without further delay, we'll go ahead and get started. So today's webinar is taking a look at some of the new features and changes that have been made to Nebula. This Nebula update rolled out here at the end of September, beginning of October. So I wanted to go through some of these changes and explain what's different than what it was before. As we go through today, if you have any questions, go ahead and send them in using the question and answer interface in Zoom. And I'll be able to see those. I will not be able to see chats. So please send them in as a question and answer. Even if it's just feedback, we're having audio issues or something, just let me know. So we'll start by talking about changes in Nebula Control Center. So Nebula Control Center is the web interface. It's what you're using to manage Nebula in the cloud. So one of the first changes we've made here is we've made some changes with how things load, to make things load and display simpler for you. So when you're loading in there, if you're going through and customizing which fields are shown, we'll go ahead and let you know which fields are slow loaders or which ones are fast loaders. So you can see here at the top of the selection here, these are all fast loaders. Anything that's here at the bottom is going to be stuff that takes a little bit more time to load. And when you go ahead and click to display that information, it's now going to go ahead and display the fast loading information first. And in the meantime, information that's going to take a little bit longer is going to be noted as loading. So we'll be using Ajax to load that while the page is displayed. And these settings will be carried over from time to time, so you don't have to go through and adjust what's being displayed. It will remember which options you have chosen to be displayed in the different views. We have now also enhanced our client diagnostic. So this is a feature that does require you have an active Pro Pack subscription. And it's going to go through some of the different things that you would generally find in the log, and it's going to display them to you in a simpler method with a much more, easy to understand explanation of what's being seen. So if we look here on the screen on the left, this column here, this is what's going to be shown in your log. And then this is what's going to be shown on the client diagnostic page. So as you can see here, these official logs that are stored in there can sometimes be kind of obtuse to understand what's going on and why it's making that recording. So for instance here, under Captive Portal, you get account 777 from station, a MAC address, this failed login attempt to the AP name from Captive Portal. So it'll be simplified to simply Captive Portal authentication failed. We can go through here, for instance, some of the other areas here where the explanation as to what's going on is going to be simplified for you. Comes to DFS, so this is on the Wi-Fi side of things. So if you're using DFS channels, if radar or other legacy devices that use those 5 gigahertz channels are detected, you must stop broadcasting and using those channels for a period of time. So now we've simplified that, so when you see that in the log, you'll simply see disconnected by radar event and the name of the SSID. Similar here for dynamic channel selection, it'll let you know, hey, the reason somebody was kicked was because we were changing the channels. And then we've got a number here of wireless health events that we keep track of. So again, it'll simplify that for you in this client diagnostic view. Making changes here to a number of smart mesh authentication failures, load balancing reasons for kicking someone due to load balancing rules, kicking someone due to smart steering. And then the next big change here for us is going to be here on the license overview. So we've changed the way that we are doing licenses to make things easier for you to do. So before, with our firmware update that rolled out back in, I think it was end of June, we added a view here that would show you a quick, easy view of what's going on with your Nebula licenses. So we've now given you the ability to use the same view to not only keep track of your Nebula ProPack licenses, but your security licenses, your UTM licenses, your secure Wi-Fi. So it makes it really easy for you to see what's going on. You know, how many devices you have, how many of those devices are expired, how many are going to be expiring, how many are not currently active, etc. We've also made it a lot easier for you to purchase licenses now. So historically, we've had to purchase licenses either through distribution, or we've had our marketplace where you could buy the licenses and you would be able to download the licenses and you'd have to log into Nebula. So now we've gone ahead and enhanced things and integrated Nebula licensing purchases into the Nebula interface. And you will see we have two different ways to do that. If you are one of our VAR partners, we have integrated with Zyxel. So Zyxel is our special e-commerce platform just for authorized resellers of Zyxel equipment, so you can buy at your wholesale prices. And then for those of you that are users or just regular admins, we have Marketplace, which is where you would purchase things at equivalent to around street price. So with Zyxel integration, you simply go into Nebula here. And if you're looking to, you just go to the license and inventory page. And on overview, you've got a nice button here which says purchase licenses. So this will take you over into Zyxel to do those purchases. So as you can see here, we've got two options for you. We've got the ability to simply buy a license by itself. And we've added another feature here called subscription alignment. So with subscription alignment, what happens is you choose a date where you want all of the licenses that you're purchasing to expire. So for instance, you've got a customer and you want everything to expire in February every year. You simply go in, choose the date in February you'd like everything to expire around, and you will then choose the date. Then you will choose whether you're looking to purchase Nebula ProPack licenses, security licenses, or both, whether the Nebula licenses are Pro or Plus Pack. And we'll automatically calculate for you what licenses you need to be able to achieve that. So Nebula licenses are available as annual or monthly. So we will combine annual and monthly licenses to get you as close to that expiration date as possible. So therefore, instead of things expiring at different times throughout the year, everything can be expiring in roughly the same, 30-day window. Then you simply purchase the licenses you want. They will automatically be assigned to the devices. They will automatically be activated, or in the cases where you've got active licenses already, they will be added to the queue for that device. And we'll automatically upgrade the organization to Plus or ProPack, depending on the licenses you purchased, assuming that you're not already in that mode. So dramatically simplifies what needs to be done to be able to renew your licenses. And then for those that are not Zyxel authorized partners and part of our partner program, very similar system here, but set up through our marketplace e-commerce thing. So this is actually done, instead of being handled in Zyxel, this is handled for the most part in Nebula. So you will go into Nebula, and you've got two options. You can buy licenses for all of your devices, so you will do that from the License Overview tab. Or you can just buy licenses for certain devices. And to do that, you would go into the Device tab first, and then you would select the devices that you would like to purchase licenses for. And we've got the ability here by clicking this little arrow to give you a lot of different filters. So you can filter to just devices that don't have active licenses, just devices that are expiring within a certain window, et cetera, et cetera. So you will choose the devices you want to upgrade the licenses on, and then it'll take you over to our license calculator view. Now, if you are one of our partners, you have the ability here to click over and join our Circle program if you are not already a member. Otherwise, you continue through using the Marketplace feature. So it's going to, you're going to go in there, you're going to go ahead and say, you know, what licenses you want. Are you buying Plus Pack, Pro Pack? Are you buying security licenses? And then you select the target expiration date. It will then give you a summary here showing you which licenses it believes you need to purchase and showing you what the new expiration date will be once you have purchased and applied those licenses. Then you click through to the next screen and it gives you a summary view. And it gives you the ability then to either export that, so you can purchase that through distribution or through your favorite reseller, or you have the option to use our Marketplace and purchase these licenses through Marketplace. So when using this license calculator, it's just showing here we take into account any remaining trial periods that you already have of a Pro Pack license or any bundled licenses you already have applied on that organization. And it'll take into account whether devices are currently, those licenses are currently assigned and active or inactive in your organization. And then add on whatever is needed on top of that to achieve that target expiration date. So that's it for Nebula enhancements to the Nebula Control Center. We've got some minor enhancements on our access points. So the block policy for blocking wireless clients going forward is going to be limited to 512 entries. If you already have an organization, you've got more than 512 entries, you will not lose those. Those will stay there. You just won't be able to add any more. But going forward, you'll be able to block up to 512 clients per organization. And we've also modified the way we are doing setting the power output. So we've given you the ability to choose how dense your deployment is. So density is how many APs are in an area. So, you know, if you've got one per room in a hotel, you know, it's probably a low density environment. If you're in a conference center and you've got, you know, 4 APs in a meeting room, you know, that would be a high density deployment. And it'll automatically adjust the power output based on that to try to reduce co-channel interference between the different access points. Moving on to switches and some of the enhancements for switches. One of the big ones here we've got for you is we've gone into the settings here for OUI and give you a list of common MAC addresses based on who the vendor is. So let me explain that a little bit more for those that aren't familiar with it. We have the ability to automatically assign devices to a Voice VLAN based on what's essentially their MAC address. In this case, we call it OUI. It's the vendor information that's conveyed in the first 6 digits of a MAC address. So we've always had the ability where you could go in and put in the first 6 digits of the MAC address of the VoIP phones in your customer's network, and they'll automatically get added to the Voice VLAN when they connect to the network. So what we've done here is we've added the ability to go through and put in a manufacturer such as Cisco or Polycom or whoever it happens to be, and we'll give you a list of what the most common OUIs are. Again, the first 6 digits of the MAC address. So you don't necessarily have to go look them up. You can simply select it from the pull-down menu rather than having to manually type it in. So just something to make it a little bit simpler in some cases. So the gateway side of things, we've got some big changes. If my PowerPoint's frozen there, oops, there we go. And PowerPoint has just crashed on me. Give me a second, guys, while I relaunch PowerPoint. It froze up and then it crashed. Give me just a second, waiting for it to launch. Almost there. Okay, sharing should be back up, and now I just need to get back to the tab I was on. Okay, there we go. Maybe? There we go. Thought I was going to freeze up on me and crash again. So, one of the most recent changes that has happened here is with this latest firmware update, we have added support for the ATP series and the USG20s into Nebula. So I'm not going to go too in-depth on the security side of things here. If you want to learn more, Tri did a webinar last week specifically focused on the new security enhancements in Nebula and the integration with the ATP and the USG into Nebula. So that is available on our YouTube page, Zyxel America channel. You can go there and you can just watch that one. And I'm sure Tri will probably be doing another one of those in the future as well. So now at this point, when it comes to Nebula, you can manage your ATPs, you can manage your USG flexes and your USG 20s all through Nebula. Now, it does start to get a little confusing when it comes to the different licenses that are available. So this is just showing you here, when using the device managed in Nebula, what features are there for you and what licenses you can purchase. So if you have an ATP, it works with the Gold Security Pack license, and that includes things such as Secure Wi-Fi, Nebula Pro Pack, Secure Reporter, et cetera, et cetera. If you're using the USG Flex, you buy the UTM Security Packs. You also have the option of buying Secure Wi-Fi, Pro Pack, and Plus Pack licenses. For the USG 20 series, we have a Content Filter Pack and the ability to buy, of course, your Plus and Pro licenses. And then if you're still using one of our older NSGs, those use our Nebula Security Service licenses. So we've also made some changes with how things are shown in the Nebula Control Center here. So before, when you were looking at things here, depending on the type of device you would have, it would say USG Flex or NSG. Now, because we've got ATP and non-USG Flexes, that has been then rebranded to just Firewall. So when you're looking at the menu on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll have site-wide on top, followed by Firewall, followed by Switch. Same thing on the monitoring side of things. USG Flex has been replaced with the term Firewall, since it now encompasses the ATP and USG 20s. And when it comes to configuring your devices, Firewall has been then changed to Security Policy. So now another question we've gotten a lot of is, what happens if I decide to upgrade or downgrade the gateway on my customer location? So as things stand right now, basically if you are trading up from a, say an ATP 100 to an ATP 200, all of the settings will be kept. However, if you are downgrading, say for instance from a USG Flex 100 to a USG 20, those settings will be reset and you will have to do that. You'll have to reconfigure that. So some other enhancements here for you is we have now added signature information for DNS and URL threat filters, the IP reputation filter, anti-malware, sandboxing, and intrusion protection systems. So you'll now be able to go in and see the signature number, when it was released, and the version number. Another one here is IDP, Intrusion Detection and Prevention, has been renamed to Intrusion Prevention Systems. And we've added additional security alerts to cover the new features that are made available with the ATP firewall gateways. Another change which is coming and is not here is we are adding a new, simpler way to be able to add USG Flex, ATP, etc. into Nebula for management. Now, with our APs and our switches, it's just a matter of scanning a QR code and assigning it to the site. But since your security gateway is providing protection at the WAN level and protecting the whole network, it's a little bit more complex of a process to get it into Nebula just to make sure somebody who shouldn't be doing it isn't doing it. So the current process they call zero-touch provisioning. You log into Nebula, you go to your site, you tell it the firewall, you tell it you want to use ZTP, and it will then send you an email with a URL link to the admin, or give you the ability to download a USB or a special file, which you load onto a USB stick and plug into the gateway, which then converts the device into Nebula managed mode. So going forward, we are adding something new called Nebula native mode. So in order for Nebula native mode to work, the device needs to be on firmware version 5.10 or newer, and it needs to have a certificate loaded onto the device. So that is something that at the moment needs to be done at the factory. So devices shipping today do not have that certificate. It is something that will be coming in the future. So for right now, with devices you already have, you need to use ZTP, but going forward, we'll have this new Nebula native mode, which will simplify the process of getting security gateways into Nebula. Another new feature we've got here is if you are transferring a firewall device from one organization to a new organization, you are given the option to keep the WAN settings the same. We've also enhanced the VPN side of things. We now have the ability with IPSec VPN to use IKE2 for the security level there for you. So for those of you looking for that, you now have the ability to do that. We also will email the admin an email with a file which includes the new certificate and other information to help provision those remote clients. So you can simply upload that file after you get it. And then the next major enhancement that we're going to talk about is we have rolled out a significant upgrade to the Nebula mobile app. We are now on version 3.0. So we've enhanced the setup wizard. So when you're setting up a new organization, we've enhanced that to make that go a lot smoother for you. So we let you set up, the name of the organization, set up the site, set up the time zone and the country that you're operating in, let you know that we're giving you a free 30-day trial. We'll automatically take you into the QR code scanning mode so you can start scanning devices to add them into this new organization and site. Then we'll show you all the devices you've scanned and give you a chance to review them before you actually register and activate them. And then we'll take you through setting up very basic wireless settings. We've also enhanced the dashboard to make it a little bit easier to see what is going on, a little less crowded than the old interface, and giving you the ability to quickly jump to different screens within the setting up the devices. So we've now made it easier for you to set up a new SSID, assign it a security passcode, and then allow you to share that information with people through the built-in Android or iOS share function, or to give you a QR code that can be displayed that client devices can scan to get them onto the wireless network. We've also simplified the wireless configuration options to make them more SB-focused and less enterprise-focused. We've also enhanced the device screen so you can go ahead and add devices directly from the device view mode. And we've added firmware updates. So when you're looking at devices, we'll let you know if there are firmware updates available and give you the option to go ahead and push those through immediately. And then if you're using the client list view, you can go ahead and block users directly from the mobile app. And then we've also given you now on the firewall side, if you're using I think it has to be a USG Flex or an ATP, we'll give you a breakdown of what's going on in the client view as far as the applications that those clients are using, and give you the ability to block individual applications simply by swiping on them. And then last but not least, we've modified the screen where it shows the licenses to make it easier for you to manage licenses directly from the mobile app. And with that, guys, we are finished with today's webinar. So this will be posted onto our YouTube probably by tomorrow. So if you came in late or you've got somebody you think should take a look at it, you will find it on YouTube at Zyxel America channel within hopefully the next 24 to 36 hours. And then as always, you can link to us on LinkedIn. And with that, guys, that is the end of today's presentation. I will stick around for a minute for anybody that has any questions. Use the question and answer window in Zoom to send those in. And of course, you can always email me directly. My email is Sean R. Sean is spelled S-H-A-W-N at Zyxel.com. So Sean R at Zyxel.com. But otherwise, I appreciate you guys turning out for today's webinar. We do webinars most Tuesdays and Thursdays each week. And we're always looking for suggestions for topics, things that you would like us to go more in depth on. So send in those suggestions and give us ideas of what would be beneficial for you, what would be beneficial for your employees to learn more about Zyxel or to learn more about specific applications, best practices, etc. So I am not seeing any questions coming in, so I am going to go ahead and end today's webinar. Again, thanks for joining us. And if you did have something you want to ask, feel free to reach out to me directly or reach out to your salesperson, Jacob, David, or Andy, and they can always answer those questions or loop in me or loop in Marcus or loop in Tri if needed. Thanks, guys.